Mafia! My name is Oshun. On this channel, we uncover the creepiest, most unusual haunted TikToks the internet has to offer for entertainment purposes. Please do me a favor and like, comment, and subscribe to the Soul Trap for your weekly dose of supernatural, coming to you every Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, baby. Y'all are my soul trap. Trap is with a Y because the Y is for you. And that's because I love you so freaking much. Yes, I do. I appreciate you. I appreciate your time. I do not take it for granted whatsoever. And with that being said, today's shout out goes to Miss Kristen Hill. Yeah, Kirsten 7270. Hey, honey. She said, didn't know how I got unsub, but I'm happy this video showed up on my feed. Make sure y'all are subscribed. Make sure you stay subscribed. Make sure you hit that notification bell so you get a ding every time your girl drops another video. Okay? Because I don't know what's going on, but I should have been hit 10K subs by now. YouTube, don't play with me. Quit unsubbing people. Thank you. I want a plaque behind my wall too, okay? Anyway, I appreciate y'all. Again, I love you, I love you, I love you. Please make sure you are subscribed. Make sure you stay subscribed. Now, let's get to this video. I will not be doing very much talking for this video. Just know if I'm showing it, that means I believe in it. This is going to be a very, very, very informative, educational video for entertainment purposes. And let's get into it. I hope y'all love this video. I hope y'all appreciate this video. And yeah, it's going to speak for itself.
To awakening, right, from a cellular level, right? I heard you talking about light bodies and electrical bodies and the fascia of the body. Can we get into that a little bit?
Yeah.
I know you do a 3-hour breakdown.
I'm gonna break it down to 5 minutes, man.
Yes,
2 minutes.
sir. Yes, sir.
But no, you know, some of it, people call it the Kundalini rising, the rising of the Brahma, the spirit. We all got it in us. The raising of the Christos. And it's basically taking breath and using breath in a way. I call it conscious breathing. You can do this just by consciously breathing, because we know that 80% of the so-called African American is even breathing incorrectly. Not only do we not know how to breathe correctly, we also ingest and digest our food incorrectly too. We don't even super chew our food. But back to the breath. He said that spirit means breath. So when you look at spirituality or mastering spirituality, that is one that who know how to master their breath. If you can breathe the correct way, which is breathing in through your nasal passage and exhaling through your mouth or your nasal passage, you're actually using something called the diaphragmatic muscle to breathe. Well, right behind this diaphragmatic muscle is something called the sternocleidomastoid. And this is a big old lymph node that actually detoxifies the body and kick on a hormone called glutathione, which detoxifies and open up what you would call NRF2 pathways or metabolic pathways of the body. This is how you detoxify. You are already spiritually wired to be spiritual and to expand in spirituality. What's stopping you from rising in your spirituality is that you need to detoxify your body of all the toxins and pollutants from the environment and from the information and from the Wi-Fi and from all the EMF frequencies that they are permeating in your body. I'm talking about trillions of them every second of the day. So if you detoxify naturally and you start eating the right foods and you start getting the right breath and you start stretching, how many people know that stretching actually unlock memories? Because you can get memories and different types of hormones and stuff caught up in your hips. How many men can't even stretch their hips properly? And you start seeing all of these hip mobility exercises. You stretching out the fascia, which is another nervous system that ain't nobody talking about. You see what I'm saying? So just by getting into what the elders used to do, which is breathing, fasting, intermittent fasting, eating 1 time a day, eating your fruits and your vegetables, getting out in the sun, going back to nature, which is what we was talking about in the beginning, is what will give you your spiritual awakening. You are already a spiritual being. You cannot separate the spirit from the body. There's no such thing as that. If you astro travel right now, you're in an astro body.
Come on.
If you dreaming right now, you're still in a body. So any dimension of density you go to, there's a body to match that dimension to hold your consciousness. So you are already spiritual. What's stopping you from experiencing that is what you're experiencing in your environment, which is polluting your tissues and your blood. And we know that life or oxygen or spirit is in what? The blood. So look, get on some blood cleansers, get in nature, drink more water, hydrate yourself, eat more foods that's grown from nature, get away from the ultra processed foods, and you will see your spiritual awakening just by changing my diet, y'all. I used to be a gangbanger. I got tattoos on my face. I got gunshot wounds. I got stab wounds. I done been through the worst of the worst. I'm from one of the worstest cities in America, St. Louis, Missouri. I'm a doctor now with my own clinics.
Come on, make some noise.
Come on.
And I'm not doing this to showboat. I'm just saying, if I can do it coming where I come from with the track record I got, all of y'all can do it. But guess what was my change? My change was changing my environment, changing my food, changing my water source, and changing the way that I think about my brothers and sisters. Seriously.
Before you go,
Yeah.
because he mentioned blood. So in our last episode of High Level Conversations, a #1 show in the world, we was talking about the bloodline of the gods.
Yeah.
And we talked deep into like the ascendants and the descendants and the protocols to creating the future.
Yeah.
And one of those protocols was through the babies. So that if you get a woman who has knowledge, information, and cultivated virtues, and I'm a man with knowledge, information, consciousness, cultivated virtues, then each one of us is going to give half of ourselves to that child. So if I want to then control 1,000 years into the future, it has to be an intentful process, right? To saying that it's not just about love.
Yeah.
I know everybody loves the movies, right? And the Disney fairy tale endings, but it has to be intentional because the way they control time is by putting secrets into the blood.
Right.
And the word Anunnaki means bloodline of the gods. So when you hear it, you should think of yourself. But to activate it, you have to go into yourselves.
Yeah. You have to go into yourselves. You have to begin to realize.
I told you. You ready? Let's get it. Next video.
The world after they released them in the 90s, right? That, you know, consciousness is real and that having psychic intuitive abilities is real and they can be honed and trained.
Right. Yeah, they have these files that have released this information. This is really powerful stuff because what they discovered, a couple things. The first thing they discovered is everyone has extrasensory capabilities.
Yeah.
Extrasensory powers, telekinesis, psychic ability, you know, the ability to actually move things with your mind. That all that stuff is actually a normal part of the human avatar body. The junk DNA, the disconnected DNA is not really junk. That's part of the thing that has held us back from tapping into some of those original talents and skills and those sensory perceptions that we already had. They also discovered something where they actually, through the same testing of this, before they came up with this document, was they took two people. They took one person and put them in one room, put another person in another room. The person in one room was blindfolded. The other person was looking at a game screen, a video game screen. It was a very simple game like Pong or something. Now, they were able to sync the minds between the two people, and the person that was just looking at the screen was able to think of the movements that they needed to make. The other person was blindfolded and had the controller and was remote control the other person's hand. So we know the power of, understood the power of mind linking, mind suggestion, the capability that minds are outside of space and time, but minds can also sync together to help create a specific type of reality. This is powerful stuff.
Right.
They also transmit subliminal frequencies, and at the same time they're doing that, they can make suggestions to the other side of your brain. And now your brain is taking it all in, and now they've just programmed you. That's why I call it programming.
Right.
And now they got robots, us, walking around, and they have these keywords and these triggers that they use in different marketing things and in different signs and in different buildings and movies. And they do experiments on us to trigger us to see what we're going to do, how we're going to do it, if the programming took, and which group of people the programming took to the best and didn't. So this is pretty crazy stuff.
Who do not drink water. Dogs drink water. Camels drink water. Four-legged beasts drink water. Do you know in order to drink water scientifically, you will have to stand on all fours, you have to elongate your neck, and you have to lap the water with your tongue? Your tongue is not even long enough, and it don't have the type of muscles that other mammals have to even lap that water in. In order for you to drink water, you got to close your hands together, do this, you got to do everything but what you can do naturally with it to even drink this water. You getting water in cups and glasses. You weren't born with cups, glasses, and bowls, and none of that other shit. shit. These are utensils that you make for you can assimilate other creatures, for you can start drinking these things. Just like you make knives and you make forks because you don't have claws like a carnivore, and you make these knives and these forks but you can claw and rip and tear into flesh, showing you that you were not created to eat flesh. Same thing when it comes to water that comes out of wells and oceans and lakes. You were not made to drink that. If you was, then your neck and your digestive tract would be made a certain way. Your tongue would be elongated a certain way so it can lap and get that water in. Guess what? You ain't got to do that when you're eating your water. See, you're supposed to eat water. You're supposed to chew water. You're not supposed to drink water. Human beings is not a drinking faculty, y'all. You do not drink water. Dogs drink water. Camels drink water. Four-legged beasts drink water. Do you know in order to drink water scientifically, you will have to stand on all fours, you have to elongate your neck, and you have to lap the water with your tongue? Your tongue is not even long enough and it don't have the type of muscles that other mammals have to even lap that water in. In order for you to drink water, you got to close your hands together, do this. You got to do everything but what you can do naturally with it to even drink this water. You getting water in cups and glasses. You weren't born with cups, glasses, and bowls and none of that other shit. These are utensils that you make for you can assimilate other creatures, for you can start drinking these things. Just like you make knives and you make forks because you don't have claws like a carnivore, and you make these knives and these forks but you can claw and rip and tear into flesh, showing you that you were not created to eat flesh. Same thing when it comes to water that comes out of wells and oceans and lakes. You were not made to drink that. If you was, then your neck and your digestive tract would be made a certain way. Your tongue would be elongated a certain way for it can lap and get that water in. Guess what? You ain't got to do that when you're eating your water. See, you're supposed to eat water. You're supposed to chew water. You're not supposed to drink water. Human beings is not a drinking faculty, y'all.
Supplements. And when it comes to relationships, I believe myself, I have mastered it because I follow the teachings of God.
That's dope. That's dope. Now, when you say a biochemist, how long does it take one to be to actually, you know, become a biochemist?
It just depends because I studied in Senegal. Yeah, I studied in Senegal, West Africa. And I know you said you were from Nigeria,
yes,
also
sir.
West Africa.
Yes, sir. Yeah,
so I studied out there and I put a lot of work in, man. Years, brother. Years, brother.
Yeah. So this is the one thing, right? Because this is the one thing I want to know from you, right?
So there's a large percentage of people. Lucid dreaming is when a dreamer realizes they're dreaming, right? And they have control over the reality of the dream.
Yeah.
So you can fly. Those are my greatest dreams. I love flying in my dream, man. But I got all of these different weird ways I can fly in my dreams. Sometimes I got to flap my hands like a bird. Sometimes I'm on some Dragon Ball Z, I'm just flying. Some I'm on some Superman. Sometimes I got to run and jump like Mario Kart with the tail. It's just different ways. But once I'm in the air, it's up and it's stuck.
Right.
But when I was younger, I used to astral project.
Okay.
I'm talking about as a child, right?
It's easier then, actually.
Because you know, in a child, you don't have all these barriers to what reality is and what it's not.
Exactly.
You exist in a dream state at all times.
Yeah.
So as a child, the reason I knew it was astral projection because I used to go to places that I've never been before, and I used to do it on purpose. So I'm in the hood, right? So I had to travel very far to go to a nice place, right? So I didn't want to just go to the corner store. I'm going all the way to the museums. I'm going all the way up to different places, and I'm looking at it vividly, like outside of reality, and I'm traveling. I'm like, yo, this is crazy, right? But I didn't know if everybody experienced this, so I wasn't having these conversations. Right? Yeah. But, and here's the thing. Y'all probably think I'm crazy for this one. I once pulled some money out my dream. No, y'all think I'm playing. I'm dead serious. You understand me? I pulled the money. I was holding on it so tight in my dream. I woke up with it in my hand. I swear, listen, to this day, I believe that 100%. And I've been trying to do that ever since. So I want to know, what's the difference between dreaming and astral? I feel like I must have mixed the two at that time and pulled something out in the physical world.
Well, you know, both realms are real. The dream state, this state is actually more of an illusion to me than the dream state. And if you can get into the theta and you can get into a deep sleep and you can get to the dream state, a lot of that to me is different types of information coming from different dimensions. So scientists did an experiment on the human brain of a person in a deep sleep, and they found that the the neurons which are firing in between the, let's call it synapses. The synapses that were firing in between the neurons, were phasing in and out of existence.
Yeah.
And they were like, the scientists were like, where the hell are these synapses? Where are they going? They're here, and then all of a sudden, they're not here. So they brought in some theoretical physicists, and they realized, based on hypothesis and other mathematical calculations, that they were going to other dimensions and then coming back, but coming back maybe with more information from other realms, the multiverse, kind of like the movie you just talked about.
Yeah.
Pretty interesting. And then, so some people have those kind of dreams where they can't control what's going on. Lucid dreaming is my specialty. That's what I specifically love to do.
That goal ought to get you that one.
Yeah, it gets you. I love to be able to control my dream. And I typically, when I'm going to say that I'm going to have a night full of dreams, I go and I figure out what I'm going to want to manifest into my life.
Yeah.
And then I go in, guiding myself in, and then I go into a dream as if that, whatever I'm trying to manifest, already exists. So if it's a house, I'm already in that house. If it's a relationship, I'm already in that relationship. Whatever it is, if it's playing a new instrument, I'm already playing the instrument in front of a group of people like I'm in a concert. And so those are the kind of lucid dreams I like. Now, astral projection gets a little bit different because what's happening now is you're separating the ba from the ka. Okay? You know, you have the mer, ka, ba, and you're separating the ka from the ba. You're separating the spirit from the body. And what you're doing is you're getting into a state of mind where you divide or separate pure consciousness from the physical avatar body. And now, it's easier to do when you're young. You brought that up. It's much easier when a child does it because they don't have the barriers. They don't have the programming. They don't have limitations from people telling them, man, that's silly and that's dumb. And all the programming coming from TV and their teachers and the schooling and all the other institutions that exist didn't happen fully yet. So they have the capability a lot easier than it would be an adult. I had an experience doing that when I was a kid in Opalaka. We would go to this dry cleaning or this, we call it a wash house. Now they call it dry cleaners. But back then you go there to wash your clothes. There's no AC. There's no windows. It's, 100 degrees on the pavement. And I was so hot, and I sat down on the pavement. You don't have to be sleeping to do an astral projection. I sat down on the pavement, and without knowing anything about this, I did an astral projection. What I did was I sent myself to Alaska. I said, it's so hot here, I want to just try something.
Right.
I sent myself to Alaska. To Alaska. And listen to me, I was there. When I came out of this thing, when I popped back in my body, and it's like a little pop, my skin was cold to the touch. And I knew I had touched on something really amazing. Now, I didn't do it for a long time after that, but the next time I was able to do it, I was actually a grown man by then. That particular time, I'm not going to lie to you, I felt like I had a problem getting back in my body. And finally found my way back, and then I never tried it again because, right now I kind of like my body.
Yeah.
I wasn't ready to float around forever.
That used to happen. I used to get, it was like, when you have sleep paralysis where you wake up before your body does.
Yeah.
And I believe that used to happen when I used to astral project. You understand me? My consciousness was there, but my body wasn't ready yet.
Right.
You understand? I used to hate that, right?
Yeah.
Wake up and you still can't move, right? Because you're in those in-between states. And you're waiting for your consciousness or your soul, whatever, to completely get back into your avatar.
Yeah.
Then you can take control.
Right.
Right? I know they go, scientific reasons and all that, but that's what I like to believe. Right?
Yeah.
Caffeine is a stimulant, and any type of stimulant to the body is bad. The whole thing is the body needs to challenge itself. So when you constantly tricking the body start depending on being tricked. And a certain chemistry and certain chemicals that the body produces naturally, it stop producing these things. If you're using caffeine to get a high energetic workout, the crash is coming. Anytime you have a stimulant, it goes up. ATP is being fired off in the cells. You're getting this burst of energy, but then the mitochondria is getting worn out, and you got to make new mitochondria. Caffeine is bad. Not only is caffeine bad for the heart, but caffeine is bad for the autonomic nervous system. Caffeine is bad for the actual adrenal glands. Caffeine is bad for the intrinsic nervous system. The caffeine is bad and is very, very, very acidic. We have seen a lot of heavy caffeine used due to dementia, Alzheimer's disease in the long run.
If you go into the ancient text, it's Metatron's cube. Meta, M-E-T-A, meta. Obviously,
meta.
The metaverse, right? They got that from Metatron's cube. It's a fourth dimensional substructure. Now, this fourth dimension is really something called a quasi-crystal. And this quasi-crystal in the fourth dimension, it casts a shadow. And the shadow that it casts, it creates the realm that we're living in here. We're living in a shadow of a higher dimension. That shadow creates a third dimension. It actually creates a fractal of it, creates this fractal holographic matrix that we're actually maneuvering in the third dimension right now.
So would the fourth dimension be considered a dimension of time?
You can address a fourth dimension of time like Albert Einstein was saying if you're just looking at a third plus a fourth being the arrow. But when you actually move up into another dimension, we now know in quantum physics that there is actually a fourth dimension.
You are already spiritually wired to their breath. If you can breathe the correct way, which is breathing in through your nasal passage and exhaling through your mouth or your nasal passage, you're actually using something called the diaphragmatic muscle to breathe. Well, right behind this diaphragmatic muscle is something called the sternocleidomastoid. And this is a big old lymph node that actually detoxifies the body and kick on a hormone called glutathione, which detoxifies and open up what you would call NRF2 pathways or metabolic pathways of the body. This is how you detoxify. You are already spiritually wired to be spiritual and to expand in spirituality. What's stopping you from rising in your spirituality is that you need to detoxify your body of all the toxins and pollutants from the environment and from the information and from the Wi-Fi and from all the EMF frequencies that they are permeating in your body. I'm talking about trillions of them every second of the day. So if you detoxify naturally and you start eating the right foods and you start getting the right breath and you start stretching, how many people know that stretching actually unlock memories? Because you can get memories and different types of hormones and stuff caught up in your hips. How many men can't even stretch their hips properly? And you start seeing all of these hip mobility exercises. You start seeing all these stretching out the fascia, which is another nervous system that ain't nobody talking about. You see what I'm saying? So just by getting into what the elders used to do, which is breathing, fasting, intermittent fasting, eating one time a day, eating your fruits and your vegetables, getting out in the sun, going back to nature, which is what we was talking about in the beginning, is what will give you your spiritual awakening. You are already a spiritual being. You cannot separate the spirit from the body. There's no such thing as that. If you astro travel right now, you're in an astro body.
Come on.
If you dreaming right now, you're still in a body.
Take
so
'em there.
any dimension of density you go to, there's a body to match that dimension to hold your consciousness. So you are already spiritual. What's stopping you from experiencing that is what you're experiencing in your environment, which is polluting your tissues and your blood. And we know that life or oxygen or spirit is in what? The blood. So look, get on some blood cleansers, get in nature, drink more water, hydrate yourself, eat more foods that's grown from nature, get away from the ultra processed foods, and you will see your spiritual awakening. Just by changing my diet, y'all. I used to be a gangbanger. I got tattoos on my face. I got gunshot wounds. I got stab wounds. I done been through the worst of the worst. I'm from one of the worstest cities in America, St. Louis, Missouri. I'm a doctor now with my own clinics.
Come on, make some noise.
Come on.
If you see your state, the deadline to register online to vote.
The body is made of 150 trillion cells of a black man. The body is made of only 50 trillion cells of a white man. Why? What is the difference? See, our body is made of 100 trillion cells of microbiotas, or what you'll call the microbiota. The 50 trillion cells is us. With the white man, he only have 25 trillion cells as his. The other 25 is with these eukaryotic cells and other different bacteria. So we have more cells than them. We have more bacteria portfolios than them. And you're going to start seeing more and more and more, and you're going to see why we sick, because we are not getting enough. Or we getting too much based off they statistics, because everywhere we go, we get treated like we them, we eat like we them, we drink like we them, we have brought into their culture. Oh, now we gonna see why the disease is truly, truly setting in. Just saying, y'all. And again, this is not racist. I'm talking about scientific backed, peer reviewed articles made by our government, made by scientists and biochemists in universities that's accredited across the globe.
85-inch flat screen, a 120-inch movie theater, you know what I'm saying? And so, but everything is elevating and everything is transforming, right? But right now, humanity is on a track to where I don't care who you are, where you are, specifically in America, there's almost no excuse. There are some excuses that some people can have, and I hate to use the word excuse, depending on what situation or what, you know, it could be, because there are people that have been abducted or in a house where they're chained to the ground in the basement. But for the most part, the masses, there's no excuse why you can't get information, get knowledge, apply it, and utilize it. In the last Olympics, there was a black man who was in the javelin, and he qualified for the Olympics, and they were talking to him, and they said, "Where's your coach?" He said, "I don't have a coach." They said, "You're in the Olympics and you don't have a coach?" He said, "How did you learn how to throw the javelin?" He said, "I watched YouTube." He watched YouTube videos and became an Olympic javelin track and field guy. So what does that tell you? Everything we need is at our fingertips. Most people don't have computers anymore. Most of these younger generations. And they also talk about multidimensional. You get into like the non-commodity and stuff like that. You're talking about multidimensional being. And so in physics, in quantum physics in particular, they started theorizing on these dimensions and were able to even analyze and discover some that they actually do exist. And on top of that, they realized that the dimensions are packed so tight on top of one another that if you can phase shift your atomic structure, your subatomic frequency, you can walk right into another dimension. And so they started postulating, what if beings from higher dimensions or some of these apparitions and these paranormal phenomena that we're seeing, are they able to maybe take a glimpse or a peek? Are they phasing through into our universe? And so from higher dimensions. And so they started really theorizing it. It seems to be, and based on my research, that there's people living everywhere. Not just, and I'm not talking about little green men with antenna. I think that there's people living all throughout this universe in the third dimension. And I think there's people living all throughout even higher multiple dimensions, maybe at a certain level, a certain height in those dimensions. Maybe they don't have a real corporeal body.
Right, non-physical.
Non-physical, you know what I'm saying? But I believe that the consciousness is there.
Then that part is interesting, the non-physical aspect, because I understand that and I can believe in that idea and that concept.
If you want to astringe and detox your citric fruits, all your oranges, your lemons, your limes, your key limes, your grapefruits, green grapes, your red grapes, all of these are astringent. That's what's going to pull all the acids out of the tissues and rebuild the molecular structure. Then if you just want things for taste and you just want things to eat and to gain water and stuff like that, any other fruits like mangoes and stuff like that. So to astringe the body, always use your citric fruits. Right. To rebuild the body, always use your melons. To just sustain the body and keep the body, in the presence that is in, always use any other fruit.
What he said was, he realized you can take data from a server, a computer, and convert it from zeros and ones into A's, C's, T's, and G's, which is what your DNA reads. And then you can actually download the data into the DNA and store data in a volume instead of storing it linear. Like time, one arrow, but when you can store it in the volume, you can store much more information. So to overcome this, what scientists realize, you can actually start to re-encode that DNA by doing simple things. Simple. One thing is, write down 10 positive affirmations about yourself, and then speak those out loud 3 times a day, out loud, for 21 days, and your DNA begins to change and rewrite itself. The water in your body speaks conscious energy. And so we can actually rewrite our DNA. We can change the way we think and see and feel about ourselves just by speaking out loud. Like you said, meditation, and I love traveling.
Your willfulness grows. Your will to live grows. People always tell you, do what you love, do what you hate. Because the things that we hate to do are the very things that will showcase the love that we have for ourselves and each other. So I decided to share this stage with my brothers because we hate to collaborate.
Yeah.
We hate to build with one another. These brothers have so much wealth of knowledge. But when we all stars, we create a universe. Yeah. The problem is when we try to outshine each other because of this inferior complex, thinking that you need to be more significant than the one you're standing next to, where the focus should be growth.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I know there's been a lot of talk on social media about men throwing off pH balance.
Yes, a man can do that. And men can get urinary tract infections. Men can get yeast infections. A lot of that. And now think about this though. We talking about bacteria. You have a diverse bacteria in your vagina. Say I go into another woman and have a different classification of a bacteria, then I come back and go inside of you. Because even if I wash properly, they teach you how to wash the penis properly. Start from the balls, go up to the shaft, get to the head of the penis, go around around, open up the tip of the penis, wipe through there. So I taught them classes, especially, and I taught my sons how to do that properly, but I tell them all the time, you know, y'all are 16, you 15 now. Y'all finna start getting really into women. Watch how you are out here laying with women, because you can take bacteria from a woman and mix it with yours. This will change and create a new pleomorphic bacteria. Then you will go sleep with another woman. Now you done swap that. Now it's mutating bacteria. And then you go have sex with another woman. You done gave her a bacteria that her body didn't even know fucking existed. And that's how you getting all these different diseases.
That's why I'm clank clank. That's what I will say, okay? This has been an awesome video thus far. I agree with everything that has been said. I love these guys. I love these gods. They are our generation's Malcolm X, Dr. Martin Luther King, Dr. Sebi, just pure gold, pure, just, oh, yes, yes, yes. Back to the video.
What about corn? Corn is the worst thing you can ever eat in your life. Stay away from corn. Corn is impossible to break down. That's why when you eat corn whole, it comes out. Corn is a gnarly grain. You do not want to put corn inside of you. Corn actually have a lectin inside of it called xian. And xian is hard to break down. Xian will actually penetrate the blood and brain barrier. It will go into your brain. It will connect itself to opioid-like receptors, and it will stimulate your appetite and hormones. Corn actually causes schizophrenic, just like gluten do. Corn cannot be broken down, and it tears up and it destructs the bowel walls. So stay away from corn. I would say this, fasting. Once you fast or you go on intermittent fasting and you only fast between the hours of 1 to 6, as long as you fasting at least 16 hours a day. So your safe zone is when you get up, don't eat anything, just drink some water or drink some H3O2, which is freshly squeezed juice, right? The moment that the sun is as high as in the sky, which is around 12 p.m., it's called the circadian rhythm. You're supposed to eat with the sun in the sun. Eat when the sun is the highest in the sky, around 12, and then don't eat nothing when the sun go down. I would say don't eat nothing after 6 p.m. But if you just now getting into this, eat with the sun and stop eating when the sun go down. While you're doing that, your body is going to automatically kick itself into a detoxification mechanism. But herpes is actually a skin parasitic. That's what it is. Herpes is a skin parasitic. It's actually called the Phascolarctos worm. You can actually get herpes from zootropic diseases too. Eating the wrong foods can give you herpes, y'all. Getting a zoster, can give you herpes as well. They gave a lot of us that when we was 3 years old. Notice after that, especially 80s babies. I know right after I got that in my arm, it wasn't even 2 weeks later, I had chickenpox. Chickenpox is a form of herpes. Shingles is a form of herpes. Smallpox is a form of herpes. Eczema is a form of herpes. Herpes dermatitis, itchy elbow disease. All of these are a form of herpes, and herpes is attached to a yeast fungal parasitic called Phascolarctos, which is a fluke worm. So when you look at what herpes is, and it's a microscopic worm at that, and it literally will go through all of these different phases where it pleomorphizes itself to express itself throughout the nervous system of the body. So you can get herpes without sex, family. Best believe it. Best believe it. We've been seeing a lot of children coming to us lately with herpes on their mouth because their mothers and their fathers have been kissing them, or they've been letting family members kiss them while people are going through their shedding process. Just because you don't see a canker sore there don't mean that you're not having an outbreak. So we've been seeing a lot of 2-year-old, 3-year-olds, even a 7-year-old recently that have herpes outbreaks on their mouth, and they don't know where they came from. I'm asking, who you been having kissing on? The family. And they were like, well, my granddad kissed him. Did your granddad ever have shingles? Yeah, he just had shingles a couple of weeks ago. That's where it came from. That's herpes. You see what I'm saying? So we got to be careful, y'all. We got to be careful. Yeah, I had chickenpox too. Chickenpox is herpes. I had chickenpox when I was 6. That's herpes. Let's just keep it 100. And you can detox this stuff out of the body, family. I do it all the time. I do this on the daily. Y'all see the healing testimonies? I do this on the daily basis, y'all. When you look at herpes, there's over 118 strands of herpes. Out of 118 strands, 26 of them strands now in 2023 are now prone to human beings. Out of 118 of them, 23 of them are prone to human beings, and they just been masking them as different names, so you never knew it was herpes in the first place, but it's all been herpes. That's why they tell you if you got a cold sore, don't do oral sex, because you can actually give genital herpes from your mouth, showing you that it's an actual skin parasite. It's a skin parasite. Just saying, family. Call me a liar. Test me on it. Test me on it. Hey, look. Test me on it. Go. Just look up everything I say. It's mind-blowing.
Quantum entanglement theory.
Understand there are two basically atoms that are entangled with one another, even if they are at vast distances.
Right.
Right? And Einstein called it, spooky. Right? Because he didn't understand what was going on.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But we understand. It ain't spooky.
He said a spooky action at a distance.
Yeah.
And you can entangle atoms. You can entangle photons, which are lights. Right.
So you think that's what happened when people fall in love? They consider to be soulmates?
I think it happens. Well, your mind can entangle with somebody on the other side of the universe. A lot of the times, you can say, I came up with this great idea.
Right.
But you really did. You just downloaded that idea because you entangled with the information.
Entangled.
That's all it is. All information actually exists. And now, like big time mainstream quantum physicists and theoretical physicists are admitting that this is true now.
Yeah.
Like it's not woo-woo science no more. This is like you're getting taught in university. When I was at MIT studying applied neuroscience, one of the things we learned about was this exact thing. The fact that not only can you walk in a room like you were saying earlier and you can sense the vibe and you can actually transmit negative or positive energy to somebody. Somebody's at a low frequency and you walk in positive and high frequency enough, your light being can actually raise their energy level.
Right.
And if you're not high enough and they're low, they can actually drop your energy level. Right. Depends on how strong you are consciously. And then also we talked about the fact that we can entangle with information throughout the entire multiverse. So information can even come from the universe in your own mind. And if you're able to discern that information, you can actually then, if you can put the action behind it, it could be one of the greatest inventions. It could be Web3, it could be, whatever we got going on now. NFTs or whatever, all this stuff comes from other places.
What was that?
The human civilization of Homo sapien on a geological clock. And imagine it was a clock, a regular clock, right? With a hand, short hand and long hand. We've been here for less than a minute. So time doesn't exist, clocks exist.
Okay. Oh, dope.
Yeah. And so we have to understand, like, wait a minute, what's going on here? We've been here now. So in less than 100 years, what have we been able to achieve? Now let's take this and analyze this. We could take 100 years ago, we were in horse buggy and carriages, right? Using oil lamps. Now we can send remote control cars to Mars. We have Voyager 1 and 2 heading into interstellar space. We have the Huygens probe that did great surveys of Saturn and Saturn's rings and the probe that landed on Titan and all these incredible things, feats of technology we've been able to achieve, the Hubble and the WISE telescope and so forth and so on, right? So now we say, well, 100 years we did that. Imagine a civilization that's been around for 1 million years longer than us. Whoa, what can they do? You talk about eyewitness accounts convinced you that Christianity is real. There's been eyewitness accounts of every culture that I've visited around this entire planet, and their eyewitness accounts of what they experienced is 100,000% opposite of what's in the Bible. People have...
Based on... What do you mean? Can you give me an example?
The Dogon tribe, for example, in Mali, Africa. They experienced a culture that they claim came to this planet from Sirius B. They have the evidence that they knew these beings were from Sirius B because they have the instruments that show the orbit of a trinary star system that we couldn't discover until the 1970s with our modern technology, okay? They understood not only the orbital pattern of Sirius A, B, and C, but even that B was a failed star, which you can't see it from Earth with the naked eye.
The African creation story of the Dogon people. In the vast, silent void, where time itself had not yet begun, there existed only Oma, the supreme God. His divine presence filled the emptiness with potential, the seat of creation nestled within his being. Oma pondered the possibilities and decided to craft the world. Taking a lump of clay, he molded it into a perfect sphere, which became the earth. Satisfied with this initial form, Oma divided the earth into two, creating twin souls, one male and one female, infused with the essence of life. Seeking to bring order and harmony to his creation, Oma summoned the Nomo, amphibious beings endowed with divine wisdom and dual-gendered nature. The Nomo's task was to descend to earth and instill balance by introducing the four fundamental elements: water, earth, air, and fire. To anchor his creation, Oma planted a single, potent seed, which swiftly grew into a towering tree. This tree was no ordinary plant, it was the cosmic axis, bridging the heavens, earth, and the underworld. From its branches and roots, all forms of life emerged, interconnected and interdependent. The Nomo descended from the celestial realms, bringing with them knowledge and civilization. They taught the first humans the secrets of agriculture, the art of weaving, and the use of fire. Their presence ensured that humans would live in harmony with the natural world, respecting the delicate balance set by Amma.
And I can go around the world and I can come up with all this information from all these eyewitness accounts from people that should be respected, dignified, and shouldn't be scoffed, and that we're now saying that all this information that they put forward, all their verbal handwritten history, all their written history, that's got to go to the side, because this one text is 1,000% accurate.
If I use the term verisimilitude, do you know what that term means?
No, but I can tell you this. Tell me how the Dogon tribe saw Sirius B, knew the orbit of Sirius B, a trinary star system, accurately, and can show you the orbit with a special tool that they made that was given to them by these people. How do they know the shapes, the sizes, the colors, and the orbital pattern of all these planets in our solar system and other star alignments that they would use to have something called the Ziggy and planet and their own harvesting and planting and so forth and so on? That's not enough evidence that there's something.
Well, I'm not aware of that particular case.
Listen to our words, because we have been sent by a very high one in a high place to make certain truths known to you. The people listened spellbound as the strange creature spoke. It spoke for days, we are told, telling our people about the mysteries of the cosmos. It spoke for days, we are told, telling our people about the mysteries of creation. The creature told our people that the race of humanity was once great amongst the stars, that human beings were once the leading race in the great cluster of stars, the galaxy.
I love that. One thing I will say, there is a video going around that went viral of a young lady who put her dad's ashes under a microscope, and guess what they saw? Guess what she saw? The universe. The literal universe in his ashes. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. They say it for a reason. Next video.
We have a huge issue. Everywhere I go, I talk about this concept of this eternal boy and this eternal girl. We're living in a society where most of us are not psychologically whole. So the concepts that you're supposed to take when it comes to being self-aware, how to foster relationships, how to go out and tackle the world, how to have emotional resilience and grit and passion, how to do the hard thing that's necessary is missing. Because the boy never turns into a man and he lives in fantasy land. The girl never turns into a woman. She lives as a Barbie doll her whole life. So this is what we're dealing with. This is a PSYOP program to destroy you from ever standing erect as a man. We used to talk black power. Now they took that and subserted that and gave us new conditions. New slogans that mean nothing. No call to action. No power in it. No insistence on economic mobility. No self-sustainability. No sovereignty. They don't want you to be educated because you start thinking for self. You get open-mindedness, awareness. Now you are the most dangerous on the planet Earth. A lion is dangerous, especially when it knows it's a lion. But when that lion becomes a pet and that lion is in a cage. At a certain point in time, you don't have to lock the doors. At a certain point in time, that lion no longer roars. At a certain point in time, that lion no longer hunts. That lion start asking the tiger to hunt for him. It start asking the zookeeper for a meal. That's the black man in America. Here you are, a lion that's a king of the jungle, that has power, that has dominion over all things. And the only thing you take it out is on your brother or your woman. But I see brilliance rising up today. I see a spirit. The reason that we are here today, because we know it's something wrong with the earth. We know it's something wrong with the world. And we won't let that spirit of Malcolm X die. We won't let that spirit of Brother Shabazz die. We won't let the spirit of none of our ancestors who stood before us and told us that it's time for revolution, told us that it's time to take over. When we say any means necessary, it didn't just stop at it. We gonna hold a gun at a window. It means you have to develop your mind. It means you have to protect your family. It means you have to learn the financial institutions of America. It means you have to conquer technology. It means you have to build plans and strategies and operate and execute and build something, damn it. That's the any means by necessary.
Yes. Stay dangerous, family.
Trying to build a legacy. And people need to understand, when you focus on building a legacy, your daily abundance is guaranteed. You can't falter. You cannot have a lack of abundance when you focus on building legacy. It just can't. Those two things don't go together. When you truly focus on building legacy, all the abundance, everything that you want, everything you need, everything, all your needs are all automatically going to be met. And so my thing is 15, 20 generations from now, that's what I'm working on. I'm not working on next week's paycheck. I'm not trying to figure out what's going to happen 1 year, 3 year, 5 year. I'm taking bigger plans. I looked back at the ancient tablets and I saw that these beings were planning for all time. One of the tablets say, these are my plans for all time on the planet. I said, damn, all time? I said, well, how come I'm not thinking like this?
Right.
I'm 19 keys and this is high-level conversation. Institutions is what I focus on, like the reality of we building institutions are only things that can dominate existing systems.
Right.
But what is the energy form of a system to where it actually has real power and control over human forms?
Yeah. Well, the way that they built all these institutionalized systems that we have that are controlling mankind, they're all predicated on fear. You'll find that fear is the biggest thing. For example, you go to school, if you don't get good grades, you're going to get in trouble. You won't pass the next grade. If you act up in school, you don't stay in line or whatever, you might get spanked with the ruler or the paddle or whatever. Obviously on the street is follow these exact rules or you're going to go to prison. So they have all these systems in place. And these systems that they put in place, when they have these little fear factors built into them, even religion has a lot of fear factors put into it.
Absolutely.
People fall in line because why? Fear, the body pays attention to fear first. The mind is always, okay, there's fear. I got to stop this fear. I got to do whatever it takes to not allow this, whatever this fear is, to happen. I don't want it to happen to me. So the body goes into fight or flight mode, and then it starts focusing on the fear. Once the body does that, these people who rule, the ruling elite, they know that we got them with the fear. Now we can manipulate them to do whatever we want. So they always do the same thing. They create the problem, okay? They wait for the reaction, and then they provide the solution to that problem. So they're actually manipulating all sides of it based on fear.
I said that in one of my past videos. People have to stop living in fear in all means of all areas of life, and you will have a better, more pleasant experience here as a physical form. Trust me.
And it's really incredible that every thought that you think in your skull, it leaves your skull as a form of a light wave. Every time you think. Yeah, man. Every light wave, every time you think. We know this because we can put a cap on your head in a laboratory, put a little electrodes on it, sensors, and tell you to think about something, and it's going to show up on the computer screen. Because the computer's reading the light waves coming out of your skull. We can't see those waves because we can only see 1% of the light spectrum as human beings. And so what happened was the United States saw it up there, Russia saw it up there, Russia thought it was us, we thought it was Russia. Then we both said, wait a minute, we can't launch nothing like this. We don't even have this kind of technology. And so they were like, damn, what is this? So they really started looking at this thing and analyzing it. And we finally got a chance to see it close up personal with the STS missions, the space shuttle missions. Took HD quality video and photos of this thing. And they were like, wow, we're going to call it junk because we don't know what this is. They're afraid to touch it. They're afraid to move into it and try to, take a piece of it to see if they don't know if it's going to have a defense mechanism or whatever. They just know this thing is orbiting the planet in a way that it shouldn't be orbiting. And the fact that it is giving off a signal that has been decoded as being the Epsilon Boötes constellation. But that's not a big deal. But the big deal about that is it's giving the location of the constellation where it was in the sky 13,000 years ago. So this thing potentially could be 13,000 years old. And so what I did was I created a documentary, which is coming out in June the 5th. It hits the movie theaters. This object is it's still moving around, still making its own course corrections.
Men are the givers. What we consume, we then give to the world. But we don't consume anything great. We ain't got nothing to give.
Right.
We all three of us is still working on healing ourselves.
Right now.
We're still working on getting the trauma and the issues out of our DNA. We're still studying the habits of the leaders of the past and saying, how can I be better to this day? Because none of us are perfect, but we're striving. And if we can give each other the same grace that we give to politicians, then we can understand the reason to giving grace to leadership, because they represent something bigger than themselves. And each one of us and each one of you today in your heart and your mind, you know you more than your job. You know you more than your cars, your clothes, or even the person you with. You know that you are a divine source. You know you are the children of the cosmos. You know that you done been through the darkness and you bring it to the light. You know that you are the greatest innovators and inventors on this planet Earth. You know that you have a superiority in the way that you move, the way that you talk, the way that you operate, the way that you think, the way that you calculate, the way that you breathe. If you don't walk with that type of confidence, you're not operating in the universal order of yourself. And I command you to be the man you're supposed to be. And I command you to be the woman. And I command you to be the people that represent God. So with the CIA tapes that they released at the Gateway tapes, right, where they was doing all of these testing on the human brain and mind. And, with the hemisync, it was basically taking two different frequencies, one in the left, one in the right. And instead of like hypnosis, where it's putting one side essentially to sleep so that it can train in that other side, because we know that the left brain, that's logic, that's reasoning, right? That's calculation, that's pattern recognition. Well, the right is to see house of creativity and imagination and a multitude of different things. But the left brain essentially tells the right brain what to do, right? So when it gives its suggestion, it basically has no barriers to fight it. It just receives it. So meaning that you can program logical things into your imagination with full acceptance. So that left brain becomes that barrier for you to just take in any information. But now when you're listening to music, what's happening? You're bobbing your head, right? You are in a state of agreement, right? You are relaxed.
Everything is resonating at a specific frequency. The reason why I can sit in this chair is not because my body is solid and the chair is solid and I'm stopping myself from falling through the chair. The reason why I can sit in this chair is because this chair, the atoms in this chair are resonating at a specific subatomic frequency, and the atoms in my body and even in my clothes are also resonating at a different subatomic frequency. And so what we're looking at is repulsion. You never actually touch anything, you repel it.
That's a fact.
Everything is repelled. You don't actually touch anything. Matter of fact, atoms are 99.999% empty space. And so the only thing stopping my hand from moving through this chair without touching anything and passing it right through is that repulsion. But if I can phase shift the atomic frequency of my hand to match the subatomic frequency of the atoms in this chair, I would pass my hand straight through it.
Because even when we sleep, we go through different cycles, right? From heightened, right, to a very lower unconscious state of sleep where we're on the deepest and where we just rested. And even if somebody was making noise, you wouldn't be able to hear them.
Right.
So then we have the states where we go towards closer to lucid dreaming. And lucid dreaming normally happens when you're actually about to wake, not in your deeper parts of sleep, because you're closer to consciousness, right, awakened state. Some of you all waited last minute to get your ticket to come to InvestFest.
That's a
because
fact.
the science of procrastination is when you have pain in the mind and it stops you from moving forward. So I don't feel like doing it, so I'll do it later. And later never comes, so you never get it done. So what you have to do is you have to learn how to do now, because it says be and it is, not be and maybe later. See, we used to be a be and it is type of people. Any thought that I get, see, sometimes they time sensitive. See, sometimes that idea can be done at the wrong time and then it's failure, but the right idea at the right time always equals success. So you have to know that procrastination is the abortion clinic of ideas. But the most painful part of the pregnancy is when a woman is pushing and it's that crowning phase. Sometimes they got to put her under. Sometimes they got to do a C-section. But if you push through the pain, then you give birth to every idea that you have.
Ooh, baby, big facts. That's why we here and you here with me right now. But you reached the end of another video. This one is deeply dear to my heart. It's a high-level conversation kind of video, baby. Go follow Yaki, Dr. Yaki, 19 Keys, and Mr. Billy Carson. Ashe. I give them my gratitude, my graciousness. Make sure y'all like, comment, share, subscribe. This is a really good video, just how the quantum physics video was dear to my heart because I love science. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. But yeah, I appreciate you guys for being here with me. Y'all are my soul tribe. Tribe is with a Y because the Y is for you. And that's because I love you so freaking much. Click the links in the description to get contact with me, baby. It better be about some money. I love you. Protect your family. Ashe.